Welcome to the Bourbon Friday Show, where every Friday we take a short break, try a new bourbon, and meet someone awesome from the St. Louis startup scene. I'm your host, Nick Niehaus, and today I'm interviewing Karlos Ramirez, who's the president and CEO of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. So Karlos, first of all, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, I'm happy to do so. So let's start kind of on the simple side of things. I think we know what a Chamber of Commerce is generally, but what's different or what's unique about the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce?
Well, you'd be surprised how many people don't assume we're like any other Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
And in fact, we are.
Sure.
And the difference is that we specifically look to target the Hispanic business population.
Of course. Okay.
And so, like other chambers, we're here to network and connect our members and bring value to them. Just so happens that more than half of our members are Hispanic. And
Gotcha.
so that's what we're trying to do is connect the Hispanic business community to the greater business community.
Okay.
And create opportunities for each of them.
Very cool. Okay. So one thing you mentioned there is it's about half Hispanic, right? So what's the other membership? I know you mentioned to me before the show there's some corporate members as well.
Yeah,
or?
so half of our membership are non-Hispanic owned businesses, and they could be corporations that are looking to tap into the Hispanic workforce,
okay,
Hispanic buying power, or to fulfill some supplier diversity initiatives. And then we have some other small businesses that are not Hispanic, which fortunately we've been able to have a good reputation of being able to really bring value to our members. Cool. And be able to do some small business training because we have an incredible staff that's been able really to focus on helping them to succeed and get what they need. Okay. It just so happens the majority of our businesses are Hispanic.
Perfect. All right. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that programming a little bit, right? So there's a lot of different ways it sounds like that you help small businesses. I know you have kind of a range of sizes of companies you work with.
Yeah.
But maybe focusing on the small businesses, what are some examples of things they can get from the chamber?
Yeah. So we really try to meet with each one of our members and figure out where they are. Okay. What are their needs and what are their desires, and help them formulate a plan of how to get there. Okay. Some of the members are completely ready to plug into a big contract with a corporation like today. Okay. Some of the others, we have a little bit of tougher conversations with them and work with them a little bit about on their brand, their follow through, their procedures, and so it really depends on each individual member. Okay. Fortunately, we have a very talented business counselor that is able to sit down with all of our members and be able to help them to get where they need to be. Interesting.
Okay. So you're talking about, mentioned that some are ready to kind of plug into working with a bigger corporation. Yep. Is that something you can help them arrange, or what kind of conversations do you have on that side of things?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are a lot of corporations and businesses that have supplier diversity initiatives where 20% of their contracts, they may want to hire minority businesses. Okay. And so they reach out to us with a lot of RFPs, and then we will share with our members that we think may have an interest in that. Okay. And actually we share with all of our members, because it also gives some of the ones that aren't ready something to aspire to. Yeah, of course. But otherwise, those that are ready to do that can jump right into those bids. And because we have relationships with a lot of these companies, we often will call that company and say, hey, 100%, this is a great business. We'd love for you to consider them. And so we really try to vouch for our members and intentionally connect our members with some of these potential contracts.
Okay, so I can see how that's appealing, right? Because if you got the hookup with the big contracts, so to speak, all right?
Yeah, and like with any networking and here in the country, it's not it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Of course.
And while being a great company, if you know nobody, people are going to know you. So it really is who you know. Sure. And I think because we take our reputation pretty serious, and we will only vouch for companies that we truly can vouch for. Okay. And the other companies, we help them. We don't just leave them in the lurch. We do try to help them to get better. But I think the companies that ask us for referrals, they respect that we will definitely give them someone. Or if we don't know them, we'll say, hey, you may want to vet this company. They're new to our membership. Okay. But we try to be very straight up with them about what it is that we think we're referring to them.
Interesting. Okay. So for a company that's on the other side and they come in, hey, I want the big contract, that's exciting, but maybe they're not ready, right? I guess first of all, what are some scenarios, like give me some examples of things that they typically need to work on?
So, I have this one example specifically of one of our members that had 3 businesses, and they were all successful businesses. Okay. And when I met them, they were doing their accounting on pad and paper. Not an Excel spreadsheet.
Wow. Okay.
Not an Excel spreadsheet, not QuickBooks, but literally pad and paper, paying their bills and keeping track of everything on a pad and paper.
That's not good.
So it may be something as simple as that and really getting them to another place. And so what it is, and what we believe with all small businesses, not just Hispanic businesses, the small businesses are scrambling so much, working in their business, that they don't look up to work on their business.
Of course. Yeah.
And that's kind of where we come in, is giving them different connections to help them, whether it be an accounting firm or whether it be minority certification assistants to help them be able to go after different contracts. And so different scenarios like that, where we're just trying to help them, depending on what their goals are, to be able to be more successful. And again, work smarter, not harder.
Interesting. Okay. I think that's a good point, that a lot of businesses, go for years just kind of focusing on the day-to-day, and then you pull out and you're doing your accounting on a pad of paper, right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So tell me about some of the other programming. Because I know you do a lot of programming. You mentioned to me before the show the staff has grown a bit. You've been able to put on a lot of stuff since you kind of took over the reins, so to speak.
Yeah.
So what else does the chamber provide to small business, or any business, I guess?
Yeah, we have monthly networking socials.
Okay.
And pretty much every one of our events have a component of networking, because at the end of the day, that's how you're going to meet people and be able to connect with people and get different contracts. So even our gala that we have, for example, we have a first hour of it where we expect people to be networking and connecting together.
Perfect.
So that's always something we always go back to. And so those events happen on the third Thursday of every month.
Okay.
The location changes because we've learned that our members actually like to host it.
Oh, interesting.
And so we used to host them all at our office, but now we pretty much don't host any at our office, pretty much. And so we're going to different locations, helping people to connect and introducing different people together. Like when you go to one of those events, the whole time I spend dragging one person over across the room to meet this person, and vice versa. Just really connecting people, and our whole staff, our whole team, and even now our board of directors are in on it as well, where we're just really trying to best serve our members in that 2-hour period to connect them to as many people as we can.
Very cool. Yeah, I've always respected the person who's there to connect everybody else, right? Because I'm a little more of an introvert, so I like when I have somebody to do that for me. So
and of course I'm biased, but I've heard from a lot of people that our networking socials are very welcoming. So for those people that may be a little bit more of an introvert, the fact that they're there, other people are also going to maybe be a little bit nervous. So we really just try to make it a point to just be as welcoming as we can be.
That's awesome. Yeah, I appreciate that. I've actually been to one. It was about a year ago, I remember, and it was a good time. I definitely enjoyed it. So thank you for doing that.
And that's just one of our main monthly events. But we have signature events like our gala that I had previously mentioned.
Yeah, I wanted to hear more about that.
The Adelante Awards will take place typically the last Friday of April. And this year it is April 26th, and we will be at the Four Seasons Hotel. And our keynote speaker, which we're very excited about, he's newly been brought onto the position of the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce president. And so he's new to that role. And so, obviously the flagship of Hispanic chambers and being able to talk about the revenues and the buying power that Hispanic businesses bring. So we're really excited to hear what he has to say about the future of Hispanic businesses in the country.
That's awesome.
So we're excited to have him. All of our events, we always like to say we have good food and good drinks. And this one is no exception.
Of course.
And, so the Four Seasons is a beautiful place, and we're really looking forward to that event. And we've had a good tradition of having great keynote speakers. So we're hoping that Ramiro Cavazos, who's the president, will not let us down.
Very cool. Okay, so if somebody wants to get tickets to that, how do they go about doing so?
They can actually go to our website at www.hccstl.com. And there's an events tab that you can go to, and it is the Adelante Awards. And you can just follow all the prompts and buy tickets or a table. And of course, a sponsorship, which is really what we like.
There you go. Plug the sponsorship.
That's right. And, fortunately, Centene Corporation is our title sponsor, and they have been our title sponsor for the last few years. And so we're really excited about that event. And, it's an opportunity to get dressed, have a good time. And, we always make sure that because it's the Hispanic Chamber Gala, our menu is not a typical rubber chicken, asparagus type dinner.
Good.
We add some Latino flavor to it.
All right.
And we will end it with a hour or two or three of dancing. We'll have a great DJ with Spanish music, and it's a lot of fun dancing and be able to hang out together.
That sounds like a great party.
Yeah.
Cool.
Definitely.
All right. Well, so let's talk a little bit about kind of maybe trends overall, because I know you're talking about on a national level, obviously the Hispanic community is growing in the United States, business owners in that community obviously dominating in a lot of areas. So are you seeing the same thing in St. Louis, or what does the Hispanic business community look like in terms of growth demographics here?
Yeah, fortunately in Missouri, we're mirroring the rest of the country.
Okay.
We know that there are between 3,000 and 4,000 Hispanic-owned businesses in the metro area.
Wow.
There are over 8,000 in the state. We also know that by 2040, the overall population in the metro area will only grow 0.8%. Okay?
Really?
The Hispanic population 10 years earlier, by 2030, will grow an additional 65 to 85%.
Really?
And the largest
Holy
segment
cow.
of our population is actually 9 years and younger.
Okay.
And so that's one of the reasons why our foundation decided to expand our Hispanic Leadership Institute, which is a leadership training program for Hispanic professionals.
Okay.
We've now created a high school version of that program because we know we have so many young, such a young population.
Gotcha.
And so we wanted to really take advantage of that and be able to help to grow leaders in the community.
That's awesome.
You know, and of course we want to be at the table with everybody else to be able to have an impact on the economic development and the growth of the metropolitan area.
Yeah.
And so, but we also want to do our part to make sure that we're training qualified people.
Gotcha.
And part of that program really also, the adult program really revolves around learning how to be a leader to then give back to nonprofit boards so that really we can really have an impact on the metropolitan area.
Very cool. So is that, you know, as developing leadership, is it business focused or just kind of any sort of leadership? You mentioned nonprofits.
It really is any, because not everybody are business owners.
Okay.
A lot of people are coming from corporations, small business owners, nonprofits. So it's Hispanic leaders, and the whole idea is to help them to learn what kind of leader they are, and to be a better leader, and to learn communication styles, and to learn what their value is as a Latino leader, Hispanic leader here in the region, that may not have as many Hispanic leaders in the region.
Gotcha.
And so it's really just trying to help them to see that pride and feel that value so that they can go out and make a difference.
That's awesome. Yeah. And that's incredibly important, especially at a young age, right?
Yep.
That's going to set you up for success down the road, for sure.
Yeah, the testimonials that we've heard from the students that graduate from the program are incredible, but quite frankly, the testimonials we hear from their parents are even more incredible.
Really? Okay.
Where they feel like their kid has really evolved into a completely different person as a result of this training. Yeah.
Very cool. So tell me a little bit more about it. I mean, is this an ongoing year-long program, or what does the program look like?
Yeah, so the Adult Hispanic Leadership Institute is actually a 9-month program, one Friday a month from October to June, and each month will be a different topic, sometimes 2 topics depending on the length of the topic. And then the high school program will take place from a Monday through a Saturday, 1 week, which is typically the first full week after most schools let out for summer break.
Gotcha.
And so it's 1 week long. Each day it's a different location, of which we help provide transportation if they don't have transportation. You know, unfortunately, we've been able to partner with County Cab here in town.
Oh, really?
And so those that don't have transportation, we don't want that to be an excuse. So we figure out how to get them to the different locations.
Perfect.
And those locations have been universities here in the region. So UMSL, SIUE, Fontbonne, Maryville, all these universities that really want to be a part of bringing talented Hispanics to their campus.
Very cool. All right. And so just in 1 week, you transform these kids.
Every
parents
day.
are completely shocked.
Absolutely, yes.
That's impressive in 1 week.
Yes,
that's great. Okay. So obviously this sounds like a great opportunity for pretty much anybody of any age, right? Either one of these 2 programs. So how does somebody get involved? Is this something, again, they can sign up for on the website? Or?
Yeah. So again, these are our foundation programs. So it's the Hispanic Chamber has a sister organization, which is HCC STL Foundation. And these programs are geared for Hispanic professionals or Hispanic youth. And they can go to our Hispanic Chamber website and they'll be able to find that tab for the foundation and those programs.
Very cool. All right. And then obviously maybe the most important question is to join and become a member of the actual chamber. What does that process look like? You
know, so it really depends. We have regular membership levels that you can join as an individual. You can actually join as a student, which is $50.
Oh, really?
An individual, $100. And then after that, it goes into different categories: restaurant, nonprofit, businesses of 5 employees or less, businesses of 6 to 15 employees, and it goes all the way up to businesses of 101 employees or more. And then there are corporate levels, and we have a corporate friend level that starts at $1,000 and pretty much goes up by $5,000 up to $25,000 from that point on.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. And I noticed you mentioned you had quite a few corporate sponsors and partners at this point.
Yeah, we have about 100 corporate members, and we're fortunate to have several platinum members. Centene Corporation, United Way, Regional Business Council, and Cisco are our corporate members.
Wow, that's awesome. All right, cool. Well, I'm getting the signal here that we got to move on to the final section of the show. So we got about 5 minutes left, which means we're going to invite Eric on. Eric is the founder of Bourbon Friday himself in the flesh here today.
Hello.
He's going to tell us a little about what we're drinking on today. You're trying a new intro, a little more dramatic.
I'll drink to you in the flesh.
Cheers. So we have Elijah Craig, and of course, bourbon, not the first thing you think of when you think about Latin America and spirits. You've got mezcal and tequila from Mexico, you've got pisco from Chile and Peru, and then rum from pretty much everywhere else.
Yeah.
And so I was hoping to have a bottle of JR Revelry here, which is the first brand made by a Hispanic American immigrant. His name is Jesus Ricardo Tapia, and he's from Peru. He moved here when he was 5 and is like literally living out his American dream of owning a distillery. Or I was hoping to talk about Ale Ochoa, who is a first-gen Mexican American. She's a whiskey scientist and was, at 24 years old, was named one of 6 women to watch in whiskey. But unfortunately, you can't get those brands here in St. Louis. I almost had a bottle of JR Revelry. Unfortunately, it's not going to make it here until Monday. So instead, I'm going to talk about how Mexico played its part in saving bourbon.
Oh, okay.
So we all know, like, there was some dark times in the United States called Prohibition back in 1920. And we've already talked a little bit about on the show about medicinal bourbon. So that was one way it got saved. But another way it got saved is some of these distilleries moved their whole operation to Mexico.
Oh.
And one of these was, it's Waterfill Fraser, and it was owned by Mary Dowling. And she was just like, I'm not going to let the government stop me. So she moved her whole distillery down there. She took Joseph Beam down there with him, first cousin of Jim Beam, much less famous cousin of Jim Beam. He moved down there with them, and they stayed down there for a while until Prohibition was over, and then they came back to the United States. And what Joe Beam did is he started, amongst a few other people, a distillery called Heaven Hill. Nobody really has heard of Heaven Hill unless you've done a little bit of research. Heaven Hill is the second largest bourbon distillery after Jim Beam. One of their products is Elijah Craig, and the other product that a lot of people know about is Evan Williams. So, like, Mexico definitely has played that role, and so there was at one time such a thing as Mexican bourbon. That stopped in '64 when the U.S. made a law to make bourbon specifically an American product.
Interesting. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, and my fun fact about Elijah Craig is I was on a focus group that chose the label for the bottle. So that's completely unrelated. I just like to throw that in there every now and then. So Eric, I know you want to tell us about a few events we got going on this week, right?
Sure. So there's not nearly as many next week as there was this week. But on Wednesday over at T-Rex, we have the IGAP DevCon, and that's put on by the NGA. And what this is just an event so mobile developers can come and learn about this program that the government has to be able to not just sell their apps in this the NGA GeoInt App Store, but also compete for up to $50,000.
Okay.
So that program's over at T-Rex on Wednesday. Go check it out if you're an app developer. On Thursday at Danforth Center, we have the Conversations Big Ideas 2.0, and this is going to be 3 teams of scientists presenting their biggest idea to help to solve our biggest challenges that we're facing in ag and the environment.
Okay.
And from that, they'll get a grant to work on that at the Danforth Center. Then Friday, we're back here at Covo. We have Melanie Igwe from Alirasoft and now DrugView. She's going to be talking, she's going to give us a little bit of update on Alirasoft, but then she's mostly going to be talking about DrugView, and they're just launching that next week. And what DrugView is a website and a platform to sort of get information out to these underserved communities, because frankly, most pharmaceutical clinical trials are not done on Asians, Blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans. It's basically just white dudes, right?
Yeah.
So, and in fact, it's skewed like 80 to 90% to white people. And that's not just in the US, that's globally. So this is a big problem. So you're not even sure how these drugs are going to affect you when you have it. So they're creating this platform to help not just get that word out, but sort of share a lot of information about how these are affecting these different underserved populations.
It's great.
Yeah. Oh, and then before I forget, on the 15th, I talked about it a little bit last week. The EQ Leadership Labs, part of NDMC, still doing super early bird pricing for that until March 11th. So you can go check that out. It's going to be great.
All right. Well, thank you, Eric. Appreciate it as always. And Melanie will be our second repeat guest on the show, I believe, right?
The third.
The third, okay.
Sarah was the first.
Oh, okay, fair enough. All right, so the third. All right, good to know. So to wrap things up, I mean, we're out of time at this point. Carlos, one thing I wanted to mention is you have the most attentive in-person audience we've ever had. So it's throwing me off, Louis. Like all these people standing around just listening very carefully. So it's great.
All right, well,
thanks for bringing the party
salute to
along.
them. Yeah, definitely.
Cheers. So as always, Eric, thank you. Carlos, thanks for joining us this week. We do have a few people and organizations to thank as well. EQ, as always, for streaming our show on Facebook and letting us use your platform. We'd like to thank Kovo for being our new home. We really appreciate. We've been moving around, trying some new spots. We think we found a great spot here, so we appreciate that. And then, of course, thank you to Vanessa Lobo, my business partner at Connect Marketing, who is always the producer for our show. So thank you for tuning in. This is the Bourbon Friday Show, and we will be back here at Kovo again at 4:30 next Friday. Make sure to tune in then. Thanks.
Hey, thanks for watching. We truly hope you enjoyed it. Please like and share this episode, and if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out. To stay up to date, follow us on social. We are at Bourbon Fridays on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok. See you next time.